Hello and welcome to Kicking Kickstarter with me, Jeccles. I am here with Victor Dean Hampstead to talk about his comic book project, Hazard.
Hi guys, my name is Victor Dean Hampstead and I'm the writer and creator of Hazard. Hazard is an ongoing series about a man from a fictional town outside of Sydney called Withenwick. As far as our main character Nico knows, he's a normal guy. There's nothing about him that makes him particularly special. One day he receives a phone call that sets in motion a chain of events he never thought would be possible. Throughout our ongoing series, Nico will be chased all over the world, from Paris, France, La Paz in Bolivia, and several others in between. There's more to Nico than even he knows. He goes into hiding, only to discover that hiding from the authorities is not a skill he possesses. There are dark things in Nico's past, and he needs to discover them before he is caught and taken in. By contributing to this campaign, you'll be funding issue 1, and depending on your pledge, be a part of issue 2 as well. Thank you so much.
Hello.
How you going, mate?
I'm all good. So tell us a bit about how you came up with the concept for Hazard.
Sure. I was travelling around Europe for about a month, my second time there, and we spent a bit of time, my girlfriend and I spent a bit of time in Paris and really loved it. It was an amazing place, and met plenty of people there, and I met this one guy I was talking to about, he was a local, he'd lived there for 20 or 30 years, and I was talking to him about what it was like to live in Paris, and he said something really interesting to me that really started me thinking about the idea for Hazard, and it was that the French people and the media weren't real happy about the city being put under CCTV all the time, and it just gave me that idea of, what if I'm watching What If every key. Yes, I was travelling Europe for about a month with my girlfriend, and we met a lot of interesting people and done a lot of interesting things throughout France and Paris, and I met this one guy that I was talking to. He'd lived there for 20 or 30 years, something like that. And I asked him about what he loved and what he didn't like about living in Paris. And the first thing he told me really stuck with me is that Paris had recently installed CCTV cameras everywhere, so that constant surveillance, that sort of thing. And I know it had happened in Sydney as well, and it was a big uproar here in the media. And he was telling me that people aren't really happy about it. And it really gave me that thought of, what if every keystroke is recorded? What if every email, every text message, every conversation you've ever had is recorded? What would that world be like? And that's really what set me off on writing Hazard.
So where did you take this idea to with the character?
Well, I was thinking about this idea of the Big Brother concept for a few days we were travelling, and I came up with an idea of obviously being Australian, and there's a very tight, small Australian comic book community that I'm a big fan of, and I really thought that it's time for me to actually write something and publish something to get in there. And I started formulating what kind of a character I would want in my book, and I thought something edgy like dreadlocks, stuff like that. That sort of stuff works. And then I thought I would model him on very blue collar Australian type things. He's got a lot of tattoos. He's just an average guy. There's nothing really special about him. He doesn't wear fancy suits. He doesn't do anything that actually really stands out. And that's sort of where I went with the character. And then I thought it'd be a great idea to take the story as if it's already a world that exists, and this one person gets dragged into it, and then the reader follows him through. And that's sort of how I developed the character, really.
What kind of genre were you looking at, or for, if there was one in mind when you were actually coming up with the concept? Was there a particular genre in mind, or did it evolve with the character?
Originally, when I developed the idea, I thought I would try and use that concept and then throw it into a crime story, because I'm a big Batman fan and DC fan, so I wanted to try and lead it that way. And then when I sat down to actually write the script with that same concept in mind, it really became sort of conspiracy based and adventure and action more than crime. I mean, there's a lot of crime that happens in it, but it's not the basis of the story isn't to catch the criminal. It's so I would say much more in that adventure conspiracy type genre, because I set out to do the crime, but it just the story took itself in another direction.
And from the initial concept and writing the first draft of the script to getting it on Kickstarter, how long did that process take? And was it an enjoyable process, or was it quite long and hard to get it to the Kickstarter stage?
To get it to where it is now, it's been quite a while. I think I got back in on the 1st of March. I landed back in Australia. I had the first draft written by the 3rd, so I'd sat down and banged that out pretty well, and then I spent probably a month editing, and in that editing process I'd sent off character descriptions to different artists that I was interested in working with and asked them to pitch me their main character, what they would look like based on my descriptions. And Wayne, an English independent artist, he nailed it. Everything that I saw in my head, he sent me back on paper. So that was really good, and I found him really early on. I actually hadn't even written the script yet. When I found him, I was still in England, and I was just basically trying to structure the story, writing out character descriptions. I thought, well, I might as well start looking for an artist, because I know it takes a long time for the process to happen. So once I found him, got back, wrote the comic, and then spent probably about a month editing it and changing it and chopping it and making it flow better, because it was the first real comic I've actually tried to write. Like I've been writing for maybe like the last 10 years. I'm still only young, but this is the first time I've really had a crack at trying to publish something. So that first issue got edited quite thoroughly, and periodically I'd get rough pencils in from Wayne, and then a couple of inked pages, and then once I settled with Wayne, then we'd get like the first 4 to 5 pages inked and ready to go without the lettering for the Kickstarter, and then a few concept concept pieces of different characters that I'm going to periodically bring in. So that's pretty much where it got to when I launched the Kickstarter, or I started to launch the Kickstarter, because I needed something to put on the site. I couldn't just have my face up there talking about it. I needed to show something. So the process was quite difficult in that, being my first time actually publishing for myself, the hardest thing is accepting people missing deadlines. Like I'll say to Wayne, he'll say to me, "Oh, Monday afternoon your time, I'll send you some pencils." Nothing comes. Tuesday comes, nothing. Wednesday you get something 2 days late. But when you've already got a date that's set in, every 2 days you miss is 2 days you don't have anymore. And that whole thing has been the hardest part. And obviously once the Kickstarter's kicked off, the hardest part is actually hoping you reach the finish line.
And how did you go about finding the artist for Hazard?
I used a website that is basically just for freelancers, and in all different types of professions, IT and media and art and all these things. And I found it when I was overseas, and I created a profile and just basically posted an ad saying that I was looking for a comic artist that was willing to work full script, because I write full script, and if they're interested to get back to me about a collaboration. I think I got probably 50 or 60 people come back, but quite a wide range of people, like guys that wanted to pay $500-600 just for a character sketch of something that may or may not exist, and then other guys were more than willing to send something in, and I would say, "Oh, can you tweak it this way?" and they'd send it back. And a lot of guys were really good throughout the process, but this website really, when Wayne applied through this website, I just really liked his stuff straight away. And then I went and looked at his website. Everything he had looked good, and he was really helpful about it, because I would say, "Oh, can you make him do this, or can you make him do that?" and Wayne being in the industry already in such a different way that I am now, because I'm just a writer, I can't draw at all. So having someone that is quite experienced in the other side that I have nothing to do with has been really helpful. So the only really downside is the time difference, but you live to learn with that.
Yeah, the time difference does get in the way now and again. What do you hope to do with Hazard when you reach your goal?
So I've written the first 6 issues of the run. They've all been written and edited and ready to send to the artist. And I plan on making it an ongoing series, write 3 story arcs, 6 story arcs, and just continue to go with it. And in one of the later issues in this series, I actually am looking at taking different characters and actually trying to create the Hazard comic series as its own little universe, and each character can be independent of the others. So basically once the Kickstarter's kicked off and hopefully becomes successful, that should be enough to get issue 1 out there, and then using the profits from issue 1 hopefully send into 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. But that's the plan anyway.
How do you hope to go about promoting it to a wider audience as well?
Promotion has probably been the hardest thing. I mean, because I'm a carpenter by trade, so I'm not exactly computer literate as I should be. Facebook has been great. It's really been it's been good in a way of helping me connect one-on-one with other Australian creators and stores and retailers and all sort of stuff. There's a book out at the moment in Australia. It's my favourite book at the moment, and I've actually been able to get in contact with its creator, and he gave me a lot of handy tips to do's and don'ts about actually the publishing side, because the creative side is completely separate, and they're 2 different beasts. The creative side, you can sit in a room for 4 hours and not get anything written, but on the business side, everything needs to be happening all the time and need to be on top of everything. So Facebook's been really good. Kickstarter's actually been quite good. I've had quite a few people contact me just scrolling through Kickstarter and have found the project and sent me a message. And things like this are great, like being able to get into a different market. I'm not sure where most of your subscribers or your viewers are actually from, but I've spent the last day contacting a lot of English comic stores and pop culture stores about stocking the book. So things like this are great. Anyone who wants to talk about it is great publicity.
Yes, indeed. And when people pledge to you for Hazard, what different tiers can they look at? So it starts down at $5, and that's a digital copy of the book, and also a personal mention through all our social media pages. Every pledge gets that. Everyone who pledges will get a personal mention. Up to $10 will get you the PDF and the print, and basically the next 3 tiers move up in a first edition print with the PDF to a signed copy. Moving up to I think it's about $100. You can get the book and some original pencils, the rough pencils that'll never be released. No one will ever see them except myself and Wayne. There's a writer's pack for I believe $75. This one I really put in because when I set about writing Hazard, the first script, I wanted to look at other scripts and see how other people did it, and I wanted to look around for other scripts, and I found it really hard to actually get my hands on some. I didn't find a script until I looked in the back of one of the graphic novels that I've got, and they actually had a script for an issue, and I basically used that as my structure. And I thought, for anyone that was in the same situation as me, that writer's pack might be helpful.
the script might not be literary gold, but it's certainly structured in a way that you can produce a comic book. There's a few others that are $35. And they include having your name printed in a thank you letter at the back of the book. My last page is actually going to be a letter each issue, just thanking everyone that's been involved throughout that month and the entire process. So for $35, you get your name printed in that. There's one that we've already sold, is a small retail pack. That consists of several books, a couple of posters, and obviously a thank you to your business through our social medias. And then up to a bigger size, a retail pack with more books, more posters, and again the thank you, and then your name printed in the book as well, the name of your business. But the big one, which I think there's only one available, is the major retail pack, and that is the most amount of the copies of the book I can actually get sent out through Kickstarter. Several posters, signed posters if they want them, and I will fly to any of the stores in the country to have a release date for the book there, or to have, just to come into the store and talk about the book and anything like that. So any of the stores that purchase that, I will appear in their store. So yeah.
So some fairly good rounded packages for whether or not they're individuals or they're wanting to look for retail to sell it for you.
Yeah, that's right.
And where can people go to find out more about your Kickstarter project and Hazard itself?
Okay, so if you go to Facebook and www.facebook.com/Hazard Comic Series, one word. That's our page where all the information that from the day-to-day creating of the book to release dates and that sort of stuff all goes through that site. And if you go to Kickstarter and just search Hazard Comic, you'll find us on Kickstarter.
Thank you very much, Sixtynine Hampstead, for talking to us about the Kickstarter comic book project.